As a high school teacher that also has a YouTube channel about financial freedom, I get asked all the time by my students, hey Finn, how can I invest? I want to invest. Here's some advice that I give my students when they ask me these types of questions. What's up guys, welcome back. My name is Brad. I make videos with tips and motivation on how to get out of debt, how to stay positive, and live a more happy, fulfilled life. Today, I want to talk about how teens and people in their early 20s should really think about money and investing. Now, please let it be known, I am not a financial expert by any means. I am speaking generally out of my own experiences through life and what I would do if I went back to when I was 15 years old. The first thing that I'm going to tell my students when they ask me about investing or things like that, I'm going to first talk to them about the importance of having a job and getting a job early on. They might go down the path of negativity and say, I can't get a job. There are plenty of jobs that high school students can get. When I was in high school, I had a number of them. I worked in an ice cream store, a pizzeria. I caddied on a golf course. I worked in a catering hall. There are jobs out there for teens if you are willing to go out and look for them. And I hear that school is my job, Finn, or I'm an athlete and being an athlete is my job. That's fine. I understand the stresses of being a really top-notch student and also a top-notch athlete, but I also know that you can be a good student, a good athlete, and still have a job. I did it. And having a job isn't just so much for the money part of it. I'm not worried about saving and investing and even spending. I think there's just a responsibility aspect that kids need to learn when they're in high school, that having a job has a positive return on your life, even if money's not involved. It teaches you responsibility. It teaches you to be on time. It teaches you how to talk to people. These are things that may not seem like they're going to help your financial freedom in the future, but they will. The power of having a job and putting that in your life is really important in your teenage years. Not to mention, it looks really good on a college application. If you've been working and excelling in sports and academics as well, I think that's really going to set you apart from the standard student these days. Next, I have students that have jobs, all right? So once we move past that and say, all right, Finn, I have a job, it's part-time, it's 10 hours a week, that's okay. Does not matter how many hours it is, I just want you to have a job. Going somewhere, having a boss, having responsibilities, even if it's 1 or 2 days a week, I'm telling you the benefits will far exceed your expectations. But after you did that, what should be your next goal to achieving financial freedom? There is one thing that I tell every high school student that your goal should be to increase your financial freedom in your late 20s and early 30s and beyond. Get out of college debt-free, or as debt-free as possible. The number one thing that has held me back from financial freedom, and I see it happen all over the place, especially on this YouTube, is student loans. Far above credit cards and car payments and mortgages, student loans hurt student successes in financial freedom more than I could ever imagine, and I know from personal experience. I still have $119,000 worth of debt left, and that's just from my graduate studies. And once again, I hear these excuses again, like, oh, well, I got a $25,000 grant to go to this really good school. Getting a $25,000 grant to a school that costs $75,000 to go to is still $50,000 a year. That's $200,000 you are going to have the day you walk out of school. That's no good. That's a terrible return on your investment. And I also have students come to me a little bit timid to tell me that they're going to a private school. Guys, I am not against private schools. Yes, I do believe that going to a state school is just as beneficial, but I am not against private schools. I'm against how expensive private schools are. If you can go to a really fancy brand name college that I know you want to go to because I know you want to wear that sweatshirt and go around and tell all your friends that you got into this prestigious school, go for it. But if you want my approval on it, you better be going there for little or no money at all, because going to a school that's private for $75,000 a year sometimes, to me, it just blows my mind when you can go to great in-state schools for only $20,000. I mean, I know here in New York, the SUNY schools are great. I went to SUNY Stony Brook, which is considered a top-notch science institution in the nation. And so many times, my high school students won't even consider Stony Brook because it's right here. They take for granted how good that school is. They want to go somewhere with a nice brand name. I'm not against private schools. I'm against how much they cost. The next step in this is, hey Finn, I'm very fortunate. My parents worked really, really hard for me. They're financially free and they are going to be cash flowing my college career. I'm going to be leaving college with no debt. I know that right now. What should I do? This is great news, and I hope one day I can put my children through college. I do not hate on that at all. Your parents worked really, really hard for that, and I appreciate their successes and giving you the opportunities to grow. You are ahead of the game. But what are we going to do now? Okay. We are going to think about how we can still handle money. Even though your parents are paying for school, you should still have a job. You should be learning certain things like budgeting, like living within your means and not overspending. And these things will lead to the opportunity to invest. Why should you start budgeting in college and living within your means? Well, because as soon as college is over, you're going to be shoved into the real world where these things are going to become very, very important. And I didn't learn this lesson until my mid-30s, which is why I started with over $180,000 worth of debt at 36 years old. You need to understand that when you get out of college, there's going to be certain things you need money for that you should start budgeting and saving for now, even before you think about investing. One, coming up with some sort of emergency fund. So when you get out of college, if something happens and you need some money, you can cash flow that emergency without putting it on a credit card or something like that. When you get out of college, you're probably going to want a car or a computer, or you're going to want to start paying rent. These are not things you're going to want to start saving for when you get out of college. These are something that you should be working towards. You've been fortunate enough where your parents have paid for your college education. Let's start saving money now so that when you graduate college and officially become an adult, you don't have to depend on them for things like covering your cell phone bill or covering your car insurance. These are things now in your mid-20s that you should start to take on your own. Now, maybe you're somebody watching this and you're in your mid-20s. You've been working, you've been saving, you have an emergency fund, you're debt-free, your parents paid for college. Then what? Okay, here and at this point only, after all of those other boxes have been checked, we could start to think about investing. Now, the investment part, guys, like I said, I am not a financial investment expert. I'm only telling you the things that I've learned from my experiences. If I could go back to my mid-20s and I was debt-free and had all my boxes checked, I would know that the investment world is so much information to take in. So I would start simple. Just like anything that seems really complicated in my life, I think simple. And the simplest way to start to invest is to think about index funds. Index funds, guys, are funds that just travel with the economy. They travel with something that we call the S&P 500, which is a collection of the 500 biggest companies in the United States of America. This is generally a safer, less volatile way to follow the market and start your investing. So if you're ready to start investing, that would be the avenue that I would tell my students to go to. Talk to somebody that is a professional and ask them about index funds and how you can start to contribute towards those. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, guys. 10 to 15% of your income max. Don't get excited with new wealth and start dumping money in. Remember, there are other things that you need to budget for. Rent, car insurance, cell phones, food, things like that. So just start with 10 to 15% and start to learn over time with index funds. And then as you become more financially free and as you get a little bit older, then you can start to switch some things up after you secured the rest of your life. Remember, being an adult costs money. So you're gonna have to start thinking about that with investing. 10 to 15%, guys. If you start early with the power of compounding interest, 10 to 15% is going to be more than enough in your early 20s. Think long term, guys. It's hard to do in your teens and 20s to think about when you're 40 and 50. I was there. I feel like I just graduated high school last year and I'm about to be 37 years old. Think long term. Look up a compound interest calculator. It will blow your mind if you could think down the road to 50 and what 10 to 15% of your income can do. You will be setting yourself up for a financial situation that you could never imagine. And remember this, guys. In the United States of America, debt is normal, all right? And if you want to be outside that norm and you want to be financially free, you're going to have to take the criticisms, and you're going to have to handle people telling you what they think you should do. Don't take advice from broke people, please. There are plenty of people that are not broke that give pretty good advice. Here in the debt-free community, there are a number of YouTube creators and people on Instagram that you could go to for support. Find like-minded people. Do the math. You will see that broke sucks and debt also sucks. So work on the debt side. Get out of college debt-free. Get a job. Start saving for things that your parents shouldn't have to pay for you when you're 25 years old. Then think about investing. You have your entire life. And yes, early on investing is really, really good, especially with the power of compounding interest. But all those things will be useless if you don't take care of the first little boxes first. And when you encounter those naysayers and people telling you that credit cards are normal and car payments are normal, and you're just thinking to yourself, it just doesn't make sense. I want to be debt free. I want to be financially free. Just prove them wrong, lead by example, and after a while, they won't have anything to say. 17 months ago when I started my debt-free journey, I heard everything from, I don't want to live my life on a spreadsheet, and oh, you guys aren't any fun anymore. I've heard it all. But now 17 months later, I get texts from friends like, hey, what did you do? I'm trying to get out of debt as well. So think about those things when you're young. Think long term. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Until then, stay positive, work really, really hard, and be kind to others. I hope you guys have a really, really easy day today.